Pardon me while I have a strange interlude.
There is nothing else. Life is an obscure hobo bumming a ride on the omnibus of art.
Along the misty corridors of time, and in those corridors I see figures, strange figures.
Welcome back, my friends, to the AP Strange Show. Tonight's show is brought to you by Big Top Clown Repellents. If you're being bothered by clowns and you worry about running into them every time you leave the house, you can just use Big Top Clown Repellent and spray it on yourself, and it will keep all the clowns away. And it's guaranteed 100% not to have been made by clowns, just to lull you into a false sense of security when you leave the house. I don't know why it has that disclaimer right there on the package. Seems suspicious, but they gave me money, imaginary money, for my imaginary sponsor, which is Big Top Clown Repellents. So go throw some money at them, because tonight we have a wonderful show. We're going to be investigating some weird crimes, and I could think of no better person to do this than my good friend, a stalwart journalist, clown hunter, the sublime scoundrel of the paranormal. He's the news editor for Coast to Coast AM, and a hunter of weird stories all over the world. You know him, you love him, Tim Binnall. Welcome to the show.
Hey, man! Thank you very much, AP, for having me on the show. I like it. It's still got the new podcast smell, so I like it.
Yeah, you gotta love it. You know.
Yeah.
It took this long to get you on, so you know.
I know. Yeah. I appreciate that, though. I'm like, I wonder if he's, he's gonna lean on me to come on. So it was good.
You know,
now we got some.
I talk to Binnall all the time. You know.
I know. Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of which, we talk fairly regularly, I would say, and we've been talking lately about weird crimes, and there's like a lot of like one-off weird stories that you find for Coast that aren't necessarily paranormal, but they're just like so damned odd, and I feel like you have a particular enthusiasm for these ones because you're kind of a true crime guy too, right? Like you've referred to yourself as a true crime buff on your own show.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and to what you were saying earlier, we talk like every day. Let's be honest. We talk on computer every day. We don't talk on the phone. We're not that old anymore. It's like everybody else giving up talking on the phone too. So and I always joke with the people I talk to tons of people, like not tons, like half dozen people like every day, and it's like I never ask them to come on. I'm not gonna bother you to come on the fucking thing. So, but what brought us together tonight, I think, I don't know. I mean, you asked me to be on the show. I don't know how much we want to talk about it. Certainly, we should start out and recommend it. Kings of Tupelo, which we both watched on Netflix this weekend. I was like drunkenly urging you frantically. I'm like, you need to watch this thing fucking now. This is like the greatest true crime sort of weirdo documentary I've ever seen. It was like Tiger King, but with Mississippi conspiracy theorists, Elvis impersonators, which is like right in your alley.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And just all these crazy characters and shit. And it's like, if you're into the world of conspiracies, like I think anyone listening to this show is, you'll fucking love it. You will absolutely love this show.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it a little, maybe not give any spoilers. It's hard not to, though, because like everything in it is a great, wonderful surprise for you to find episode.
Yeah.
So there's only 3 episodes. It's not a big, it's not one of these series that takes 8 episodes to go and half of it is like filler or feels like filler because they're trying to stretch it out. Like it's 3 tight hour-long episodes, and I believe they're an hour. They flew right by
Yeah,
it,
thereabouts.
yeah. So yeah, I could see why you were feverishly recommending it to me, because it almost seems like it was custom made for you and I specifically to enjoy. But
Yeah, yeah. And people who
also,
like our stuff, I think, because like that
yeah,
we harp on the absurd, and you're like the Elvis guy, so yeah, it was yeah. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I give it the highest recommendation I possibly can, and yeah, it's good. It's a nice. We don't have to get into details of it, but it is an interesting look at how people like get fucking whacked up in these conspiracy theories and shit. It was
yeah,
like a fascinating sort of like look at one dude, but um yeah, it's really interesting. And what we were talking about, I don't know how these two dovetailed into each other, but yeah, the story that I covered last week, you were asking me about these stories I write for Coast to Coast. And I do. The Tupelo story is a lot like this in a way. It's like I fucking love stories about people doing weird shit, like
yeah,
people who do like stuff you couldn't even possibly imagine. And like before we came on tonight, I said to you, I'll look through and see if I found like I just went through like last 2 years of stories that I've covered, and they're like there are some really fun, weird ones. And the one we were talking about for folks who haven't heard this one is up in Alaska. These two brothers. This happened last week. These two brothers got into a fight about anime. I don't even know what the fight was about. Like it didn't nothing. There's no details really about, but it was a fight about anime. It was like in the police report, and apparently then it turned into a scuffle, and
yeah.
then when they went to their separate corners, essentially, like one brother grabbed the other brother's pet alligator. What the fuck? And threw it out the window into the snow, and the other brother, like some kind of wacky sitcom, was like, "Oh yeah, well fuck you," and grabbed. Apparently, the other brother had a pet crocodile, so he grabbed his brother's crocodile and threw it out the window too.
Right,
And the cops came and they had to search for the things, and they recovered the alligator, but they figured the crocodile's dead because they can't find it anywhere in the snow and
right,
shit. And I was saying to you at the time when I had written it, it was like these stories are so great because they're like these things that's only happened once ever in human history, like that moment, like that's never those circumstances have never come together. And you like these things happen. There's a show on HBO kind of like this, Florida Man, which
right.
kind of covers these types of stories from Florida, but they're these like once in a lifetime moments in a bottle where it's just like a confluence of weird shit all comes together into one moment, and you're like, what the fuck happened there, man? Like you talk about a glitch
Right.
in the matrix, like that's that's like a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah, what series of events led to this being the outcome?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, that also touches on something that I know you're enthusiastic about, which is like niche communities and cultures.
yeah, yeah,
Because I mean, it has the anime thing, and then with the Kings of Tupelo, you got like the Elvis impersonator aspect to it. You know,
yes,
so these niche communities and people with strange interests is that always seems to be like a factor in the storytelling. um,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
because I mean,
yeah,
you
go
you
ahead.
went you went deep into the flat Earth community, so that's
Yes, I was on the cusp of getting it deep into the Cooper community. I was really wanting to go to that conference last month in Washington, but I didn't have a chance to go. But I see similar, but not necessarily as unhinged sort of mindsets in the different like communities. It's interesting to me. I like going to their. I would like to have gone to their convention to check it out. But yeah,
right.
at least little subgroups.
Yeah,
Yeah,
getting sucked
it's
into the Cooper vortex this season of your show.
a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, definitely over the last few months.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I mean, well, that's one of those stories that always comes back around, and it's kind of one of the more well-known ones. Like I often joke with you year after year. It's like, oh, it's Amelia Earhart season again, because
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
uh, it's always like this. this one time of year that suddenly somebody has solved Amelia Earhart again, so
it's really crazy. Yeah. Well, we had that with the DB Cooper parachute thing that happened a few weeks ago, but it's just yeah, it's you see those like every year, like Jack the Ripper, definitely Amelia Earhart. This year was crazy with the rocks and shit. So that at least was like, oh well, um, maybe they got it this time. That was a pretty good. That was a pretty good switcheroo. Like they got it. That sometimes when you see the story, it's like, all right, whatever, dude. You found like a bone or what, like the. It's always some inconclusive thing. You found like a piece of glass. Like we're good as that. But this was like, oh shit! I think that looks like a plane.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's one of those things that always comes back. The other one that's not really like crime or tragedy related is the Voynich manuscript. I feel like that comes up every couple of years. Somebody claims to have deciphered it and figured out what it's all about. Until the next
that's
time.
all the time. Yeah. I've almost gotten numb to that at this point. Like that one and Jack the Ripper, I'm kind of like, I'm tapped out on these, like on these stories. Because you just heard it so many times. At least with Amelia Earhart's still fantastic, kind of.
Yeah, I would probably put like the Shroud of Turin up there too. Like that one always comes back around again. Yeah.
So. Yeah. Those three are like so threadbare. It's like, oh, come on, man. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, what did you dig up from the last 2 years? What kind of stories you got for us?
Well, this one's like one of my personal favorites because it's so you talk about like a confluence of like this is never going to happen again. Is this happened out in Belgium? This group of young people, I assume, were coming home in the early morning hours. So it was like, let me see, I'll just open this up here so I can look at it. Just get a quick thing on it. So they were coming home 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, there we go. And in Brussels, and they fucking decide to start a game of Monopoly on the sidewalk in front of like a residential building. So they're playing fucking Monopoly at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the people in the building start getting pissed. And first, one guy comes out with a stick, and he's like waving it and yelling at them and shit, and being like, "What are you doing?" And then his son comes down, and his son has a samurai sword, and a fight breaks out among the people, the Monopoly players, and the guy. And the guy ends up being stabbed by his own fucking sword. So he ended up in like the ICU over it and shit. And probably will go to I said at the end of the article, probably go to jail. I don't know whatever happened to him. None of these people are even named in the story, but it's a real thing that happened according to the Belgian newspapers.
Well, the real question is, did he go straight to jail or did he collect the $200?
Oh shit. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is sometimes you don't really get the follow up with these, right? Like,
almost never. Yeah, almost never. It's like very it's disappointing in a way. I thought about that, but I didn't have the time tonight. And like that one, I don't know if you could really there's nobody like named and shit. I'd have to find someone in Belgium.
And you'd really have to dig like through public records probably and figure out. And if it's another country, that's even harder. So
Right.
Yeah.
Another one that's kind of near and dear to our hearts. I mentioned this to you before we did the show because this is kind of in the clown realm, and that's this is one like you could kind of follow up on probably because we know the guy's name, but I never looked into it. This was in late 2021, so like 3 years ago, right around this time on December 14th, so a couple days ago. This happened in Vegas. It's like this time of year is like weird shit. People do weird shit, I guess, and this guy drove a limousine onto the tarmac at McLaren Airport. Oh, no. McLaren Airport. So the major airport. So he drove a limo onto the tarmac, got out with a clown mask on, and then he wanted to steal a jet. He wanted to commandeer a jet to fly to Area 51 to see aliens. So, and if he didn't get the plane, he said he was going to blow the place up with a bomb. So, like, what
Yep.
the fuck?
Yeah, that one's pretty classic. That's got a lot of great elements there. You got the aliens, the alien conspiracy stuff, the clown.
Right.
For some reason, I thought he was naked too, but I guess I'm misremembering. Uh,
I
yeah,
don't believe so. I don't believe so. He definitely had the clown mask on. Yeah.
right. Yeah, so I mean, I guess they wouldn't count as completely naked with the clown mask, but
Wow. Yeah, no, it doesn't mention anything about him being naked. I feel like that would almost be I would almost have to have put that in the title too. Naked man and
right,
clown. Because the title alone is like one of those things where it's like this is a confluence of insane events. Man in clown mask attempts to steal jet to fly to Area 51 to see aliens. It's like when the fuck and the other one's like there will never be another samurai sword stabbing as a result of a 5 a.m. Monopoly game. Uh,
right. One would
that
hope.
that
Yeah,
were that someone that someone wasn't a participant in. So you even have to
right,
move it out of like that realm. It's like no, an angry witness to a Monopoly game got stabbed with his own samurai sword because they were playing at 5 a.m. Like that has never happened before and never will happen again. It's just
right.
too completely fucking random.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, and I mean the clown thing is like I guess that's kind of a popular. Well, I guess it's an easy mask to go to if you're going to commit a crime, but you kind of have to know if you're hijacking a plane that you're going to get caught, right? Like there's
Yeah.
why bother, you know?
It's pretty crazy. Like, yeah, because the thought process there, yeah, you're gonna take the plane. You can't even fly the plane, I assume. But once you land, like they're gonna arrest you once you get off the plane, dude. Like, you really have no out there. So,
Especially if you land at Area 51.
right,
'Cause
exactly, yeah.
that wasn't too long after the storm Area 51 thing, right? Was that right around the same time? I don't even remember what year that was. Was it 2020?
2020. I don't think so because of the pandemic. I don't think people would
Right.
be talking about storming anything. So maybe it was 2021. And if that's no, because it predated the storming of the Capitol. So I always wondered if that was some kind of weird. It was 2019. So
Oh,
yeah.
all right.
So 5 years ago. Wow. Pretty
Jeez.
old. Yeah. Shit.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's why the pandemic happened. If we talk conspiracy, people tried to storm Area 51, so they let out the contagion.
In order to prevent them from getting inside.
Right. Yeah. Or for trying it again. Don't try that again.
Yeah. Well, I see that all the time though, but the clown mask. I was thinking about that today, knowing we were going to be talking. But yeah, it's become a bummer in a way because it's like clown mask is essentially a ski mask. Like people, ne'er do wells and miscreants have replaced. They instead of putting on a ski mask like in the olden days or a nylon, like if you go even further back,
Right.
I guess. Right, this is the newest iteration of a criminal's mask. It's like a lot of people wear clown masks to do shit, and it's like
Yeah.
you're cheapening the creepy clown phenomenon. I
Right.
guess I can't. You're only tangentially clown related.
Yeah, we can't even take the creepy clowns seriously anymore. I say we got to bring back the balaclava for miscreants. That should have been the sponsor tonight. The
Uh,
balaclava ski mask for miscreants.
exactly. Yeah.
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 I even heard there was a creepy clown with a mask at the Strange Realities conference this past year.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I tried my hand at being a creepy clown, dude.
Yeah.
It was intoxicating. It was it was really it was both intoxicating. This is bizarre. I really immersed myself actually in the creepy clown. I tried to be a creepy clown. Like I got the fucking mask, I had the whole suit. I was with the intention of being like unsettling, so I would like hide, and when people would come outside, I'd peer around the corner and shit, and did all the, I was a real creepy clown, and it was Well, it was both intoxicating and incredibly boring. So it was
Yeah.
like you're spending a lot of time waiting for someone to like notice you or kind of like come out from behind the doorway or something. So you're spending all this time just like, all right, here I am. Here I'm gonna creep on you.
Right.
And
Kind
but
of
then
like
when they see you, it's like you can kind of fuck around with them and do like and shit, and it's just fun.
right. Yeah. And I guess it kind of like working at a fun house or something where you got to jump out, but you can't like touch
Yes.
people. So, there's only so much you can do.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah. And after a while, I was just like, I got to get out of this costume. It's just, it becomes kind of like it takes hold of you in a in a fucked
Yeah.
up way. It's like, all right, I'm just done wearing this creepy clown costume.
Yeah. You're getting
It's
too
too
close.
much. Yeah,
You're,
I likened it to like those science fiction things, like the Hobbit's ring or whatever.
right.
It's like the clown costume does not want you to take it off, and at some point it gets into your head. At least it did for for me that frightening night. It was like I'm like, all right, I want to get. I'm like, I feel like this thing is like fucking on me, like a fucking like a like an evil
Yeah.
parasite. I'm like, I have to get this thing. I have to get out of this crazy clown costume to the point that when it was over, I like balled up the costume and the mask and just like threw it on the table at the AV table in the conference. And Adam Sane was like, "Hey, aren't you gonna take this?" And I'm like, "I don't want that anywhere near me, dude. Like, I'm fucking done. I'm never gonna wear that creepy clown costume ever again."
Wow.
It kind of gave me the willies. It was like a really
Yeah.
weird experience. I recommend people to try it though. It was
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I've dabbled a little bit. I haven't gone the full creepy clown. I've done the goofy thing where I closed
Yeah.
the clown portal or made an appearance on a podcast as a phantom clown. But I just for the listeners, when you've been tracking clown movements and phantom clowns and creepy clowns for as long as Tim or I have, sometimes the grease paint rubs off on you a little, and you got to just try it on.
You got to know the enemy. You
It's
have to
just
know
part of
the
the game.
enemy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, um, but I was reminded of a weird clown mask story that I came across. I stumbled across this just like out of curiosity because I was at a yard sale. I found this pewter ring that said Gilbert Reichert, world's tallest man,
Oh
and
wow. Was it a very
the
large ring?
yes. So
Okay.
like I couldn't quite fit like two of my fingers into it, but it was way too big for any one of my fingers. Like I could put it on my thumb, it's still too big. It
Oh
would just
wow.
fall off if I tried to wear it. So I ended up looking into it. I gotta know who this Gilbert Reichert character was. And pretty interesting. I mean, I don't think he was ever the tallest man in the world. Um, and you can't really get um, an exact measurement of his height. But he was a basketball player as well as like
Oh
a
wow.
carny. But it was like a novelty based basketball thing. I guess like the Harlem Globetrotters. I don't know. Is this a thing? You're a sports guy. Is this still a thing?
Harlem Globetrotters are. So if he was mixed up with that troop, because they have a rival troop that like takes the fall the Washington Generals. I think they've won like three
Right.
times. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know what year. When was this guy around?
This was like the 50s, like the 40s and the 50s. So he was
Yeah,
part
I
of
don't know. Yeah.
I guess there were a bunch of novelty teams because he was originally on like it was something like the Israelites or like the House of David Israel or something, and they
Yeah.
all wore like long Jewish beards and the curls and everything.
Oh, weird. So maybe like
so
roller derby or something. Yeah.
so yeah, and I guess he was supposed to be like Goliath or something like that because he was huge. Um, and but then he ended up joining the Detroit Clowns. So the team he was on was
Oh.
the whole team wore rubber clown masks while they were playing.
Jesus, this is like
It's
roller derby. Yeah, it's like a Warriors.
right. Yeah, it's exactly like the Warriors in the 1950s with like novelty basketball teams. I just
That's
think
weird.
it's got to suck to play basketball with a rubber mask on. I
Oh
cannot
yeah, that'll be
imagine,
awful.
right?
That'll be awful, dude. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's crazy. Did you buy the ring?
I did. I have it.
Oh, nice.
That's what inspired me to look into this. So here's the crime angle on this. they were on tour, and their tour bus got stopped just outside of Boston. And
Of
this
course.
was right, but this was within a week or two of the Great Brinks armored car robbery. You've heard of
Yeah.
this, right?
Vaguely, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was considered the crime of the century at the time because somebody managed to stop an armored car and get away with like a ton of money in
Yeah.
Boston. Yeah. And they got stopped and they were briefly suspects in the Brinks robbery because of the rubber clown masks, which I guess was like
Oh,
similar to the masks that the robbers used. So
that's wild.
yeah, yeah. So that one kind of ticks some of those weird crime boxes. Um,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
all just
That's
all just all just because of a ring I found at a yard sale.
that's crazy. I
Yeah.
gotta look into this novelty basketball league. That sounds so weird.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know how long that went on for, but I guess it must have been a thing in the 40s and 50s at least, you know. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Things were different back then. I mentioned mystery houses the other day. We said the stuff. This is something I wanted to talk about. So I'm just gonna mention it. Like, have you? I went to this mystery house in
mhm.
south of Santa Cruz. Yeah, Santa Cruz Santa Cruz Mystery Spot. It might be a different name, but it's world famous, and it's been around since like 1924 and
Okay.
like or something like that. No, later than that, 1936 or something. It's approaching the century mark, and it's like a historic fucking landmark of it's got the historic thing out front and everything, but it's like a freak show thing. It's like you go up on this hill. Have you seen these mystery houses?
I, I'm not sure what you mean by mystery house, so you'll have to
It's a
explain it to me a little bit.
it's a house, right? It's a
Yeah.
house on a hill that is like slanted, and they tell you that the house is slanted that way because it was pulled by a gravitational anomaly
Okay.
that fucking like sucked the house into it, and they show you all the various gravitational anomalies associated with the house where like they'll put a ball like at the bottom of a ramp and the ball will go up the ramp.
Right.
um and they'll have you stand next to a tall guy, or a tall guy and a skinny guy stand a tall guy and a short guy stand next to each other, and then they have them move to the other ends of the pole, and all of a sudden their heights are flipped, and it's like, whoa, what the fuck. um and there's parts where you get inside the house and you can stand on things and you look all unearthly. It looks like you're hanging in
Right.
space and shit. It's all like magic, not literal magic, but like stage magic. It's all like
Yeah.
tricks of illusions and shit.
Right.
And it's amazing. It's like a step back in time of like ridiculousness in a way. It's like because the girl goes, the tour guide, the young lady, excuse me, goes through the whole shtick and fucking like it's a show, and it's like a old timey magic show in a way. It's really really
Yeah.
cool and weird. And what you were talking about what made me pique my thought about this was just because as we were leaving there, we were there. I was like, can you imagine like back in 1936, like when you're here, like they couldn't look that shit up and everything. Like you
Right.
couldn't get on like on just on the ride home. I'm on YouTube, like, oh, okay, this is how that works and shit. It's like, oh, because
Right.
the way they built the house, it's like this. It's all a trick of engineering and shit and architecture.
Yeah.
There's no magical gravitational flux in the in the hill by to that point that the one in Santa Cruz was a copy of one that's even older, still operation, famous, equally famous, I guess. Maybe not as much because the Santa Cruz one's like California and everything, but a mystery house in Oregon. Same
Hmm.
exact fucking attraction, relatively speaking. Same premise, everything. And the guy, I guess, who started the Santa Cruz Mystery House went to that at some point in
Yeah.
his travels, came back and was like, I'm going to build one of those here. And he did. And the fucking owner of the Oregon Mystery House threatened to sue him for
Wow.
stealing the Mystery House. And at some point, it came up that it was like, well, if you sue us for that, then if you say we stole your idea for the Mystery House, then what you're saying is there really isn't any fucking mystery to it. Like
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
thing that you made up. And so he was like, he dropped the suit, and then they went on with the mystery house. And there's like 3 or 4, there's 2 I know of. If there's ever another Strange Realities, or if anyone else has the balls to invite me to speak at their conferences, I really want to do something on these mystery houses, because there's 2 in California. And Tenny posted a picture a few months back, or a few weeks back, of an abandoned one in Michigan, and it was the same fucking thing. It was like this slanty ship, and this was like a abandoned one. I almost want to go see it, but
abandoned one sounds really creepy. Like, just imagine being a wino and trying to like hole up in like an abandoned house, and it turns out to be a mystery house. Like,
oh god, you're like rolling up the whole time. Yeah, you're like rolling up the hill and shit. Yeah,
because that's a naturally. I think that's a naturally occurring feature somewhere. There's like mystery hills where if you put your car in neutral, it seems like your car rolls uphill.
Yes, yeah. The mystery house, not to be confused with mystery spots, I guess. Well, this one's called a mystery spot, but mystery hills. Yeah, but
but there is one in New Hampshire. There's
a mystery house or a mystery hill.
I think both, but the mystery house is at Clark's Trading Post in Lincoln.
Interesting.
Have you ever been there before?
Is that around where the Betty and Barney Hill thing happened?
Yes, very close.
Then no. Yeah, no, I haven't. It's one place I haven't really got a chance to go to. It's quite far from where I live.
Right.
Relatively speaking. You know, it's a long day trip.
White Mountains. It's a good 3 or 4 hour drive, depending. Depending on the time of year. But Clark's Trading Post is the kind of place they have like trained bears. That's like their big attraction. Yeah.
Oh, I need to go here.
They do a show with bears that are trained to do tricks.
Oh shit.
And they have a mystery house, and then they have a train that goes around the whole property. So it's like a little theme park kind of thing.
Oh shit. Yeah. I gotta go check this out. I'm gonna look into this mystery house. Yeah, because I didn't even know they're like those they're like an even rarer form of those UFO houses. You know how there's like Futuro houses. You know how there's like there's a website that tracks them, and there's like maybe 35, something like that, left. With these mystery houses, there's only got to be less than 10. So yeah, they're crazy.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know. I mean, I'm sure there's got to be somebody out there that's cataloged all the mystery houses, right? Like,
I believe so. I think I found a website, but I didn't really dig too deep into it. But yeah, I think there was like 6 to 8. Because I think there's one like in North Carolina or something like that too. But it was the kind of thing that if I went really crazy, I guess otherwise I'd have to win the lottery. But like, I don't have the funds. I don't have the funds to build one. But if I could, I would build a fucking mystery house, because it's like what a fucking ridiculous fun attraction to own. And and you can like go out there in like a top hat and white gloves and be like, oh, now watch as the ball goes up. We don't know why it happens. We don't know why the ball rolls up, but it's like all designed architecturally. It's crazy.
Yeah, I could see you doing that. You know what you need to do is build the world's largest mystery house.
Oh shit, the Mystery Mansion.
Yeah.
Where it's just like all these different rooms.
Yeah, if it's got world's largest attached to it, though, people can't pass
That's true. Exactly, yeah. I'll just make the rooms just a little bit bigger than the other ones that are out there. Yeah.
Like an extra 2 square feet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh man. But yeah, they're cool. They're really neat. They're funny. It's a real sense of nostalgia. Because it's like, this passed for entertainment, I guess, back in the day. It still was fucking wildly entertaining. So, but it wasn't like a sense of wonder. It was like, oh, this is quite the show.
Right. Yeah. I will say, if you have like mobility issues at all or balance issues, those places are not a good idea. It'll totally screw with your equilibrium, you know?
Oh,
So,
yeah. Don't go. Yeah. It was
even motion sickness. Like, I do remember, like, as a kid going to Clark's Trading Post, and my mom walked into there, and she just like didn't go very far at all. She just got seasick because the dimensions of the place made no sense to her. It just made her seasick, you know? So
yeah. It's hard. Unless you've been there, it's hard to explain to people. But it's like, there's all these different, like what you're saying. It's like these different things that fuck with your eye line.
Right.
Like there's the building and then the fence is behind it, but the fence is like kind of like at an angle and the house is at an angle, but really they're actually fucking flat and and like built that way somehow. I don't know. It's crazy. It's really
Yeah.
yeah.
From the outside, it tends to look like a normal place, but then you walk in and the floor is at tilted and like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's all.
Yeah. It's really weird. Yeah.
It's pretty good engineering, though. I mean, it's pretty impressive stuff that
Yeah,
somebody
the guy
figured
who
that
first
out.
came up with it is pretty clever, you know.
Right.
Yeah. That's the kind of
But yeah,
thing like I said, I would do a presentation on that. It's the kind of thing like if I had, a lot of ambition and free time, like I would write a book on something like that, but it's not I wish there was a book on mystery houses because I would read it and immediately get the person on to talk about it because I find them fascinating, but I don't think anyone's really did too much digging it. But
yeah, it's hard to know because I
yeah,
mean, it kind of falls under that like roadside America kind of tourist attraction sort of thing,
right, yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm all about that. I love that stuff.
I like anything like that. Yeah,
Right.
they're really yeah. It's anything with a hat, anything that I generally, if it has a gift shop, that I give it an extra plus.
Yeah.
And a tour is usually good. And if it's just like an odd kind of fucking museum, is those three things are
Mhm.
or an attraction like this thing. Like you should have seen the fucking gift shop at this place. It was like holy. It was like walking into a Bucky's. I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit. That and the Winchester House. The Winchester House was even more Bucky's. The Winchester House gift shops like it's a fucking warehouse. It's like holy shit, holy shit,
Yeah.
holy
I'd like to see
shit.
that place someday. Winchester Mystery House is a pretty that's kind of a bucket list for me. But
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
no, we should check out because we could do it in an afternoon probably. I think it's in the town of Middleborough, but it's like General Tom Thumb's house.
Yeah.
The PT Barnum little person who
Okay.
is like his star little person in the circus that and he went by General Tom Thumb. I think General. I may be getting his rank wrong, and I apologize if that's the case. But
The Thumb ancestors are gonna come after you.
right. Well,
Huh.
he was born in Bridgeport, so he probably still has family in New England that might come after me. But yeah, he retired in Middleborough, I believe, and which is just kind of in Plymouth County, maybe.
Yeah.
Does that sound right? Yeah. So he had a house that was built to scale for him because he was only like 3 feet tall or something like that,
Okay.
very
That's what I
small.
yeah. I
You know,
was gonna
yeah,
ask that, but I didn't yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
I think
Wow.
the historical society there owns it, so you can. They're open like sometimes you can take like a little tour of it, but
Interesting.
yeah,
That's the kind of place you want to do a ghost hunt. That would be cool.
oh yeah,
See if we
contact
can
the ghost of General Tom Thumb.
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe PT Barnum's ghost is in there too. Who knows? You know,
Who knows? Maybe some kind of ethereal little beings are like, this is awesome. There's a house built for us. So we're going to
yeah.
kind of inhabit this. And it's like, oh shit. Turns out you're messing with like dwarf ghosts.
Little sprites and goblins and things.
Yeah. They're like, it's like a clown car. So they can all fit in there, but it's just, it's proportionate. It like suits them best. So it's like, hey, man, we're
There
all
you
in
go.
here. Get the fuck out. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I
Oh,
mean, to
man.
the point of what we've been talking about, it's like Barnum originally had more like a museum. You know, he had a single location before, and I think that caught on fire, which is what made him do the circus tent thing, like the big tent, and start
Oh,
going down
really?
the road with it. Yeah, but it was originally just like in a building, you know, and
Oh, I didn't know
uh,
that.
yeah, yeah. He's
That's
one of the
interesting.
original circus guys, you know, original
Yeah.
modern circus guys. So,
I wish I was of that era. I kind of miss, like, I don't miss it because I didn't get to experience it back when they had those touring troops of oddities and shit. Like, I would have been all about it. Um, you know,
yeah, I think in another life I could have easily just been a carny, just like traveling with the circus and.
Yes, I think yeah, same here. It sounds appealing. Nowadays it's like not so much because it's probably like, with all due respect to carnival workers, I feel like it's like there's probably mixed up with a lot of meth and all kinds of crazy shit. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a very dark world now. So um but back then it was like they make it sound like it was for the dreamers. It's like I'm gonna go off, run off and join the circus. It's like,
right.
hey man, which way is it going? I'm coming too. Like I want to fucking join the circus. That sounds wild.
It really does. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely a huge part of. It's like an underlying part of the American psyche. I think it plays a large role in forming our idea of what entertainment is and all that stuff. Um, I mean, like professional wrestling comes out of Carney stuff.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
that has a lineage there. Even the lingo they use comes out of like Carney speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's straight out of the carnivals. It's very. That's also very, yeah, very Americana. It's an American art form, I think.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty crazy.
For better or worse. Yeah,
It kind of captures the American spirit in a way because it's like it's bullshit, but it's also real and kind of like there's a duality to it. It's like a show, but the people really get hurt, but they're not like they get hurt from like with the intention of not getting hurt, but just even doing the shit hurts. You know what I mean? It's like
right.
you're like, oh, it's like fake. It's like, dude, some of these guys like are stuck in like wheelchairs and shit now. It's like you fall on your back like
Yeah,
500 times a year.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know what the. I mean, I don't know anything about this, but I'd be willing to bet that like there's probably some kind of thing where like certain like ballet people probably have really fucked up feet. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like just from,
Oh yeah,
and it's like, oh, you gotta. It's like, well, what is ballet fake too? It's like they're not trying to hurt each other. Obviously, it's a choreographed dance and shit. It's like, but parts when you do it, it really, yeah. So it's like there's a duality to it that is very American because it's like trying to pull the wool over. there's a certain there's a certain American spirit there, a tricksterish element to our country.
yeah, for sure. I thought it was really interesting. You had Delaney Bowers on your show recently, and she was kind of talking about folklore as it
Yeah.
applies to wrestling, and it was like, wow, yeah, I never even thought about that, but it is kind of like a weird little analog to America broadly, So,
Yeah, yeah. And it's like done right. It's like, it can be really good storytelling. It's just basic sort of like morality plays and shit. You got a good guy and a bad guy and shit. It's just
right,
as much within that tradition. It's just for
yeah,
this American audience where the guys are like crazy cartoonish villains and shit that fly all over the place and do crazy stuff. So,
yeah,
but
and then
yeah, it is theater.
you have another layer to it though, with like the real life drama and some of the horrendous shit that happens behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, that is a whole nother, yeah, kettle of fish.
Right,
It's a very sleazy underworld. One of the more, I mean, I can't say I'm not actually, I take that back. I'm not a part of very many underworlds. So, so I couldn't say if it's any like, the clown community or like
right.
magicians or,
Elvis impersonators
Elvis
and
impersonators, drag queens. They might be like, "Oh, honey, you have no idea. This is
right,
what we do. Is the sleaziest shit happens in our world. They're all like fighting about it, So I don't know, but it does have a very sleazy thing. It's certainly like it was super. I think part of it was because it was just like super closed off for so long. It was like
right,
super secretive and shit. It's born out of this like super secret world and shit where because it's so secretive, people can get away with fucking a lot of really awful shit. Um,
right.
because
Up to
like
and
it's like
including murder, probably, right?
yeah, yeah, very well could be, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The recent revelations about like Vince McMahon and stuff are just horrendous. Like just shit I never want to think about again.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, they surprised me in a sense where just the graphicness of it. But to me, it was like, but that he would be that way wasn't at all any surprise because it was like allegedly, but just because the guy, he seemed crazy as shit. He's like has ultimate power. He's like the leader of a cult. It's like a cult business. It's like a business. It's almost it's like a business slash cult. And it makes perfect sense that like the cult leader always is like the most depraved individual in the cult. Like they're like every time you hear about these cults, I think that maybe that's why it's like so shocking in a way to some people where it's like, no, this wasn't so much a business as it was a cult. And then you look at cults and it's like, well, then, I could see why this guy was allegedly like a sex trafficker, fucking sex slave owner and shit, and just crazy as fuck. Like, because he was the leader of a cult. He had no accountability whatsoever, and he was a super billionaire. So, that's it. There's the recipe for disaster. Look, well, I don't want to get political, but people can draw this line from one dot to the other.
Speaking of clown cars, like
exactly, but an unaccountable cult leader with unlimited resources is almost certainly going to like do horrible shit. So
we can park that there. Do you have any weird cult stories? Any of the ones you picked out that touch on cults at all?
Not off the top of my head that I can think of. No, I haven't. I don't know. I'm trying to think now. I do watch a lot of shit and read a lot of shit, but I haven't. No, the only culty thing is like, and it may not even be that. I'm kind of on the edge of my seat waiting to hear what happened with this girl, this young woman who. My apologies, folks. I'm old. I came to the realization like any woman younger than me, I call a girl. Any woman older than me, I call a lady, like ma'am or whatever. So I'm just I'm just too old fashioned or whatever. I'm just an idiot. So but this young woman who went missing, she flew from Hawaii to L.A., sent some weird texts to her friends, fucking went missing. Her father came out to look for her, and then her father killed himself like after 2 weeks because he was so distraught. And now they found her like down in Mexico, and it hasn't really even explained yet what the fuck happened. It's a really bizarre case. I hope that I don't even know. In this case, like a mental break is the best case scenario, because otherwise it's like, because there was a lot of talk, we asked about cults. That's what led me to this, that she may have gotten mixed up with some kind of like cult. That was the concern. And like somehow they duped her or convinced her to go to Mexico or something. So I'm waiting to hear what the story is with that. Okay. But that was the latest weird cult thing I heard. But my eyes were opened earlier this year with that HBO special because about the cults that our friend Louise, her last name escapes me now, but
Emily Louise,
excuse me. The documentary that she was a part of with that cult, like out in Utah and shit. It's just amazing. Love is One. It's just amazing that that shit was happening like 2 or 3 years ago. Right. So when I heard that this woman might have been caught up in a cult, I kind of believed it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
So this is a developing story right now.
Yeah. She's like 23 or 24, I think. I don't know. But she flew to LA and then was going to fly to New York, but then got off the flight at LA, wandered around Los Angeles for a while, vanished, turned up in Mexico like a month later. So
you can't imagine there's any cults or groups in LA that you could.
I know. Well, that was the thing. Yeah.
Seems like such an up and up place. I'd love to go there someday just to go to the Unarius Academy of Arts and Sciences. Have you ever been there before?
Yeah, I've been there a couple times. Yeah, 2 or 3 times. It's nice. It's cool. It's like the Mystery House where it's like a throwback, and it's all
Yeah.
very has all these very small dioramas and shit, and just things like that. Everything's kind of got that 50s, 60s sort of like color palette and space like that. Imagine how you imagine
Yeah.
space, and has these giant murals, and it's interesting. It's
Is there a
interesting.
giant? Is there a giant portrait of Ruth Norman
I
inside?
believe so. I believe so. There's a room you go in, and it's like all mirrors and shit, and it's like
Okay.
trippy as hell. Um, yeah, I haven't been there in like 5 or 6 years, but yeah, it's striking in a way because it's like very big, but everything's kind of like very spaced out. It's a bit like underwhelming in a sense because there's like quite a few displays and shit, but the building is much bigger than is needed for the display. So they're like super spaced out, and you're kind of like,
Oh, okay.
you're like, all right, this all could have been done in a much smaller fashion. So,
Yeah.
but
Right.
the lady who worked there at the time was a true Unarian or whatever. She was
Hmm.
like, it wasn't just someone who worked. It wasn't just someone going to college who needed a job on the side or whatever. It was like, hey, all right, because it's free to go in and walk around and look around. So um,
Huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she was like because I asked about something if it was like, I think I called it a religion or mentioned it being a religion or something like that. And she was like, it's a movement. It's not a religion. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
So she was very adamant about that. And
So a movement to prepare humanity for when the space brothers are going to come and rescue us all. Right. So.
I did have another experience like that, though. There's another one in LA. I forget the name of it now. Aetherius, I think. Aetherius.
Right.
And they seem much more active relatively to the Inarius group because there were like 6 to 8 fucking people who were hanging around their compound. And that's like right in the heart of LA.
Hmm.
And interestingly, there was this young guy, this kid who came up. He said he came up from like Florida. So it's like, it's a big enough organization that he talk about like leaving enjoying the circus. Like he left
Right.
Florida to come move to LA to move to the Aetherius compound um, to be a part of the Aetherius movement. And it was like,
Hmm.
that's interesting. Like I would love to like
Yeah.
I would love to more so just be this guy's friend. I don't want to fucking I don't because I joked at the time. I'm like, oh, I'd love to fucking do that and go inside the Therius group, but I'm afraid I'd end up moving too deep into the scene and just become
Right.
a true Etherian. So
Yeah.
um that would I'm very susceptible to the love bomb. So
Yeah.
I would
During the inner sanctum of the Aetherius Society. But
yeah, yeah.
I mean that started in England, so that had some
Yeah,
reach,
yeah.
So
Yeah,
uh,
I think they still have a compound like that in it's a building. It's like a building with some
right,
outbuildings and shit, like a shed. It's not like it's got fucking fountains and shit. I don't want people to think like
right,
it's like Waco. It's like the complete opposite. It's got gorgeous fountains and finely pruned trees and all this shit. It's like a almost Buddhist in a way. It's got
right.
very the aesthetic is like super the attention to detail of all that. Yeah. So
Yeah, last time I checked, both Unarius and Aetherius Society had like active websites, so anybody can just look those up if you're listening and have no idea what we're talking about. Do that. Any listeners that have no idea about these weird UFO religious groups, although I
yeah.
guess Unarius isn't religion. It's a
Movements, yeah.
but yeah, for listeners, if like I said, if you don't know, um, Google a picture of Ruth Norman because she's fabulous. She
yeah.
had the best fashion sense of any contactee. um, just extravagant. And go on YouTube to find a video of George King, who started the Aetherius Society, because you can see him channel aliens, and it's pretty wild. So it's definitely worth a watch if you're inclined toward that sort of thing.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
cool era. Yeah,
yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, today reporting on UFOs seems boring. I mean, I guess I kind of have to ask you because it's happening at the time of this recording. What do you make of all the drone stuff?
oh, I hate the drone stuff. I hate the drone
Yeah,
stuff.
I figured.
Uh, I got kind of caught flat-footed on it from the start because I was like, wait a minute, what? I didn't take it seriously, and I didn't realize it was going to blow up into something huge, and I still like don't like it. And the other guys at the site have covered it mostly instead of me. I just find it really just kind of tedious, and it to throw back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like the 2016 clown thing, but in a different, or the 2020 monolith thing in a different way. Maybe it happens
Yeah,
every 4 years. Maybe every 4 years there's some kind of like flap, some kind of panic, some kind of hysteria. Like I said,
yeah.
2016 was the clowns, 2020 was the monoliths, and now the right now it's the drones. But it's like I saw an interesting theory that they're like government drones and they're like tasked or designed or whatever to like look for radioactive shit, whether it's a
Hmm.
test of their capabilities or it's an actual threat. Might be why they, we may never know, right? But
Right.
and people who are like, tell us what the drones are for. It's like, well, they don't want to tell us because either they don't want to. That would freak people out more than than what
Yeah.
people are imagining. So
Right.
so I think it's something like that or along those lines, like some either
Yeah.
a test or they're looking for something um and I'm kind of just cool with that. I'm trying not like it doesn't bother me so much. But then
Yeah. I don't
the
feel like it's
original,
really. I
yeah,
don't feel like it's really like a UFO thing. It's kind of tangential to UFOs, but everybody's treating it like this is the flying saucers coming down from outer space. I'm like, not
right,
really though.
right,
And then I'm just seeing tons of pictures that are obviously airplanes or
yes,
conventional craft and stuff, and people are like, "What is that, man? Why is it just hovering there?" you know. So I don't know. It's the
it's
kind of thing I'm just
very
waiting for it to blow over. You know?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I feel too. It's very frustrating for me as a UFO news aggregator. It's very it's I'm not a part of the UFO community. I'm embarrassed for them. Some of the people who are like trying to make this otherworldly. And it's
Right.
like, no, like we know they're fucking drones, dude. We know they're drones and they're this isn't not alien. It's some kind of terrestrial thing. They're not per se unidentified flying objects. They're UFDs. They're just UD. They're just UDs. They're just
Yeah.
unidentified drones. So like the
Right.
UFO people who are like, "Oh, this isn't related to UFO." It's like, "No, it's not. It's a whole fucking different thing." And you're kind of embarrassing yourself to keep pushing this as something, you know, connected to what we know and love as UFOs. So
Yeah.
I don't
And
know. It's very weird.
if you know they're drones and you just want answers as to what the hell they're doing, it's like, okay, but we never really got answers about those balloons that got shot down not so
Right.
long ago, right? Like we still don't know what that was all
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Never said much about
Exactly.
it. So, um,
And
yeah,
then you can kind of see how it all fucking happens because now it's like, okay, now you got people who are looking who never look up in the sky. So then they're seeing shit like airplanes. There was a congressman or some shit who was like, what the fuck this weekend? I looked out my window and I saw this thing, this set of lights in the sky. And someone was like, bro, that's the constellation, whatever. And they like
right.
put it right where where the guy was
Yeah,
looking because he like took a picture and they're like, no, bro, like there's an app for that and put it in your app and it'll show you that that's constellation. So you have people looking up in the sky who are seeing shit that like they think are UFOs that literally like I hate to sound like Phil Glass or whatever, but it's like fucking Venus or what they don't know. They don't
right.
know. So you got that plus I would assume like a whole slew of assholes who were like, well, fuck this. I'm going up with my drone. I'm putting my drone up. I want to see what's going on up there. I'm going to go drone hunting with my drone. So we've got I think that happened here in Massachusetts, right? Didn't they like arrest a couple of idiots who were like fucking around with a drone? Like,
Maybe,
over the weekend. I want to say Bridgewater or something, but you're gonna get like a whole slew of people who are like they're gonna fucking. So now you're adding to the drones. Now other people are seeing the completely unrelated fucking drones from the beginning. They're seeing Huckleberry drones. We'll call them. So the Huckleberries are fucking like, hey, I'm gonna fucking put my drone up and see. So then these people see the Huckleberry drones, and it's like this is different than the other thing, and it's a big old fucking mess. It's just a big mess, and I'm just so tired of hearing about it.
Well, not just that, but it's like somebody posted a video on Instagram that's been going around now. They're like trying to shoot the drone down with like tracer rounds.
Oh yeah, that'll be next. Yeah, yeah.
No, that's already happened.
Well,
Like,
yeah. Well, they'll shoot one down. I mean, or something. I mean,
oh
like,
right.
yeah.
But he's got a laser scope. He's got a laser scope trying to shoot this thing down with tracer rounds, which isn't going to take it down. But I mean, pointing a laser into the sky is, I think, a federal offense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you could blind a pilot doing that. Which
you can get into a lot of trouble for that. It's amazing how they it's amazing how they catch someone but they do catch them. But it's just like that's a testament to how they can get anyone these days for anything. It's like, how did you find the guy who was down and stuck his arm out his window and flashed the thing? It's like, well, we got him. We did the math. We backed it up. We fucking could do the thing, and that's how we know. And it's like, holy shit! It's like, wow.
It's kind of funny. Christ. It's funny how readily available like laser pointers are. You know, like everybody has one just to like mess with their cat or whatever. It's just like, they're that dangerous. It's almost like why are they so easy to get? It's just kind of strange, you know. But
yeah. Well, it's. I won't go too deep into this, but I went real deep on this with it's something to think about. Maybe it'll kind of pique your interest going forward. But they talk a lot about disclosure and shit, and they want the government to give us the alien information and stuff. And just talk about this with Miguel Romero on a recent BOA, and it's just like the 3D printing technology. That's the thing with the ghost guns and everything. It's like everything. You get this advanced technology and people find a way to do bad shit with it. So it's like, I can kind of understand sometimes why they don't want to tell us anything. Cause like, it's the old, this is why we can't have nice things. It's like, they're going to take away 3D printing because people are making guns out of it. It's like, they're going to take away the lasers because people are shooting at jets with it. It's like, can't you assholes just not fucking Huckleberry this up? Like, can you not? Jesus. They're going to be like, no one gets a drone anymore because of the Huckleberries flying their fucking drones who ruined our whole drone exercise. We were trying to look for a dirty bomb, but thanks a lot, Huckleberries. Now, we can't find it because all your drones are fucking up everything.
Yeah. I think we're establishing new boundaries of Binnallisms tonight with the Huckleberries.
New vernacular, yeah.
There we go. So we'll just make that one happen. Trademark Binnall. Don't Huckleberry this up.
Just dumb people doing dumb shit, man. Like, you should know better, man. Why are you putting your fucking drone up? Like, why people are freaked out about drones. That would be like someone being like, everyone's freaking out about these clowns. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna dress as a fucking clown too and walk around. It's like that. What I did is that's like an homage. But this is like during the flap, like there were crazy people that were like, I'm gonna do it too. It's like, bro, just stop.
Yeah, but I mean, there were a lot of like weird ones too. So, but I mean, now in today's day and age, everybody's looking for attention. Everybody has the ability to take videos and put it online, and you don't know what to trust. It's like as soon as
I know.
Yeah, so I mean, like half of the clown stuff was the people intentionally making a video to like pretend they were being chased by a clown or something like that.
Yeah.
But
that was before TikTok, so it's at least kind of they would have ruined it like within a fucking month. It would have been oh man, yeah. I try to stay off of there because it's just too geared toward people wanting to. It's just too engagement farm ish.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can't trust anything, like you're saying. It's like, oh, all right, he did this to get attention on TikTok.
Right. Right. Yeah, and then even when people are commenting this is fake, that still drives the engagement, because then people
Yeah,
argue with
yeah.
them or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's all a big game. It's crazy. It's really
But it's
irritating.
yeah, and I mean it has been this way with UFOs for the longest time. Like I'm sure this has been the case for you. You and I agree on this. Is that like the pictures of UFOs have
Yeah.
been the least exciting thing on the internet
Oh,
in the
yeah, yeah.
like pretty much since Photoshop's been a thing. Like look at this compelling UFO photo or video, and you're just like, man, I don't know. Anybody could have like made that, just you made it in Photoshop or did some kind of CGI. It's
Yeah.
like, and it's only getting worse these days because you can do it with virtually anything. Like,
Yeah. The AI stuff has just kind of ruined a lot of that shit.
yeah,
But luckily, in a sense, I mean, I don't see too much. It hasn't quite. See, it doesn't seem like it's quite at the point now where they can really super well fake like a UFO sighting or a Bigfoot like video just quite yet. But I feel like it's getting closer, and because a lot of the AI shit I see is so like outlandish that immediately that it's AI. Like I don't know, there's
right,
some of the things I've seen. It's like has like it's like an old black and white picture of a prospector standing like next to a Bigfoot, and it's like, oh look what someone found in their uncle's attic, and it's like, okay, dude, looks way like it is as photorealistic as it looks. It's obviously fucking like fake. You can just tell it
right,
has no soul. It's like yeah. So but it'll get worse. Shit like
yeah,
the obscure shit like I could see like lake monsters and shit like people being like, oh, look at that thing that kind of popped up or whatever. But
yeah. It's
it's
kind of
just the way
weird
it
that that
is.
hasn't happened. I don't think I've seen any AI Nessies. Um,
No,
y-
not yet.
but or like anybody attempting it. But we're always happy enough with like the ripple on the water that kind of looks
Yeah.
like it might be a sea serpent. So
Yeah, Nessie's like that, like the dog that hasn't got adopted from the shelter after like years.
okay, well, yeah. All right. So
No
speaking
one
of
wants to
hyper,
pick on Nessie.
right? Speaking of hyper specific like niche interests and like internecine stuff. No pun intended. I actually really didn't
Ah,
intend that one, but that was a good one. The internecine infighting in the Nessie community is something that you've covered over the years. Whoops.
yeah, yeah. I reported on it a little today. If people are listening, it's on the 20. Now today's the 16th of December, but because I had been thinking about this all year because the fucking number for Nessie sightings was super down. They only had three. They only had really, if we're going to be honest, one actual genuine sighting, which was someone like on the shore who saw
Hmm.
Nessie. I think they got a picture or saw, what they think is Nessie. The other two were like a hydrophonic thing and a sonar reading. So technical sightings. So, virtual
Hmm.
sightings almost. So we only one sighting this year, and that's crazy. Like they usually, for the last 10 years, they've gotten like 10 or 15, somewhere between,
Yeah.
a dozen, let's say a dozen, give or take.
Right.
But then I looked more into it, and about 10 years ago, they only had one, and like in the preceding like 7 years or so, it was like one, two, one, two, two, three, two, and it was like, oh, okay, so all the aughts, halfway or so, early 2010s, they were getting one or two or three like a year, and then it kind of blew up. I don't know, partially because of the webcam stuff,
Right.
which caused the controversy because what Nessie heads were like, they think those are bullshit sightings. A lot of them are
Right.
pretty bad, but I mean, a lot of the on the shore sightings are pretty fucking bad too.
Well, because
too.
there's a guy that's like in Ireland or something that just monitors this webcam all the time, right?
Yes,
And
Owen O'Fadigan, I believe is his
yeah,
name.
right,
But he's
right,
like a legend in a sense, and also a villain, depending on where you are in the Nessie world. Because he like clocks like 8 he watches. There's five. I think it's now four webcams that watch over Nessie and over Loch Ness, and he watches them like I guess all day and shit.
He's got like this control
And
room with 4 screens and just
I really think so. I really think so. Or he's just like, yeah, or he just, I don't know, what like records them all day and then watches them at night. Like that's what he does at night. I don't know. It's very sad, but he's like captured like eight, 7, I think, this year of weird things that
right.
um you know, but sometimes like one he had to like call back because someone was like, yeah, that was me. I was swimming there at that time at that location. So we like called. So it's like that's how hard, how I don't want to say bad, but that's how indecipherable these webcam sightings could be, which is the argument of the Nessie heads. So they eventually
Right.
like won out, and the official registry just stopped counting the webcam sightings, which in part I think dropped. There's like steroids. It like dropped the number way back down to like 3 this year. But I don't
Yeah.
know. Otherwise, I mean, it's still unusual. Like you usually get more people like on the shore who report something. So I don't know. I mean, I had Paige Daly on the show, and she took over the registry, but I don't think it has anything to do with the lower number, unless she's like super, super strict with what gets the thumbs up and thumbs down.
Yeah.
So I don't
I
know. She
remember
might
that
have just
episode.
tightened it.
She sounded like she was pretty no bullshit. She didn't
Yeah.
suffer fools gladly, so she's probably taking it very seriously and weeding out a lot of stuff. But
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
would suspect. And like with all due respect to her dad, maybe her dad maybe was just a little bit looser on the reins where he's like, "Okay, yeah, that looks pretty, that
right.
looks good." And maybe she was like, "Hey, let's send this to a scientist and see what he says." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, that's clearly a seal or whatever." So
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. I would be interested to know if the changeover there had uh any bearing on the number being pretty low this year. I would guess
Mhm.
so. I would guess so. Just by nature.
So is that feud still going? You said you just wrote about it today. Is there still feuding going on over the lock?
No,
No.
no. I think Owen is. Paige was very. There's no feud with like the Loch Ness Registry per se. It was more just like the hardcore Nessie fans and researchers and shit.
Right.
And they were like, they didn't want webcam sightings to get the same level
Yeah.
of recognition as the other thing. And
Right.
the other guy was just kind of like, hey, this all happened like 2 years ago. And eventually,
Yeah.
when they launched the extra things, the extra webcams in 2022, the Loch Ness registry was like, look, you got to have like clear as day footage of this thing to even get through the door here on this. And that
Right.
killed the webcam sightings and shit, which I guess makes sense because I would assume they would have to like weed through, they were expecting to have to weed through like even more of these like really grainy videos and shit that
Mhm.
what are you even going to do with? So, but that was kind of the end of it. And the web guy still does it. The webcam guy still captures them. Like he had 7 or 8 this year, and he's still at it. I think he just begrudgingly kind of accepts that he's not going to get the recognition from the official registry, which in a way is kind of why I cover his sightings at the Coast to Coast site, because people,
Yeah.
some of the people in the Nessie community like really don't like that these are even considered sightings. But it's like, hey man, I'll leave it up to you to figure out what is a sighting or not. Like he's at
Yeah.
least. We're only getting 3 from the registry. It's like, well, there's others going on, but they're this way and that way and through the webcam and
Right.
shit. And people like Nessie and they want to hear about Nessie.
Yeah. I mean, the man's in it for the love of the game, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, the way you write stories on there, you always kind of uh you're very good at laying out all the facts and then leaving it for people to decide on their own. So it's
Oh, thanks, man. I try. I really try to. It's funny because I feel I get kind of, it hurts me a little bit because I'll see in various places like someone, give you an example, like now I can't because I don't remember what the story was, but I debunked some fucking story and someone was like, yeah, that's not true. Actually, check out this thing from Coast to Coast AM. And then they were like, yeah, I don't know if I trust Coast to Coast AM though. Ha. You know,
Right.
like, oh, aliens and shit and Bigfoot and all that. And it's like, bro, I fucking I cover it by the book, man. I cover it by the book. There's no sensationalizing with what I do. And if, I actually quite enjoy like debunking crazy stories that I know turn out to be bullshit. So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
well, at least I did my due diligence on that and getting everybody the straight dope.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what we count on you for, and uh,
Oh,
the
thanks, man.
stories themselves are so sensational that you don't need to like sensationalize it.
Yeah.
They're wacky stories, so it's like why didn't you do inflate that wackiness? It's like just lay it out for people, and then
Yeah.
you always offer like an alternative. You're like, of course, some might say that this is the case, but that's left for the reader to decide here. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Unless I'm absolutely certain that it's like I can say for sure that it was like the Goodyear blimp or whatever, then I'll be like, oh, it was the Goodyear blimp or it was Starlink or whatever. Um, I'll I'll point that out. But
yeah,
otherwise, it's like, oh, it could have been this. People say it could have been that. It could be military flares. It could be a lot of these lanterns are probably responsible for a lot of I always look when I see a UFO video or whatever. I'm like, oh, what day of the week was that? And if it's like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm always just like, and it was like a city-ish area, and it's like 5 or 6 like glowing things like kind of floating through the sky. I'm always like, that's got to be lanterns, dude. It's
yeah,
lanterns. It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
like it's not that out of the ordinary. But again, it's like people look up in the sky a rare occasion. And they're like, what the fuck is that? There's like a cluster of 6 lights and they're moving across. They don't even realize that this is a regular occurrence.
yeah, yeah. Well, it was pretty funny because my phone was blowing up with various people messaging me about drones and various groups that I was in, just having like a big conversation about it. And I was like a little here and there. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know anything about aviation. This really is not my
Right, right.
bag. But then I stepped outside and I'm like, look up at the sky. Let's see if there's anything up there. And crazy shit started like shooting by and like in and out of the clouds. I was like, what is going on? And then I'm like, wait, I think that was a shooting star. And I look around and I saw like 6 or 7 more. And yeah, it was a meteor shower the other night. I was like, well, that's pretty wild. I'm glad it looked
Exactly.
up. I
Yeah.
had no idea there was a meteor shower tonight. So that's pretty awesome actually. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah, I got the same thing where people like old buddies text out of nowhere. What do you think's going on with those drones? It's like, why would I just that's out of my realm. Like that's again, again with like the UFO people. It's like stay in your lane. Like you're not military aviation people. You don't know shit about that. You know about like fucking
right.
reptilians and shit.
Yeah. And I mean, some of the people I know do know about that stuff, and then they kind of tell me, and like, honestly, like, I hate to say it, but my eyes just kind of glaze over when you're like talking specs on like planes and like altitude
Yeah,
and what they're capable of, and I'm like, yeah, I
same
don't
here.
know, just I
Yeah,
don't know,
same
man.
here.
That's above my pay grade, and it's hard for me to wrap my head around. So, um, I'm not. I'm open to the idea that there could also be strange things happening
Of
in in
course.
in in conjunction with it, and like I have seen strange light forms and things like that, and I've heard some pretty credible stories about that kind of thing. So I'm not about to say like none of it is that, but I mean it, I'm a little tired of seeing there was one that was posted on I think Instagram, a video on Route 146, which is not far from where I live. It's a couple miles from where I live.
Yeah.
And this woman is hanging out the window of her car, taking a video. She's like, "Oh, these things are floating right above the highway. They're like hovering over us," and it's like two airplanes that were both
Yeah.
going the same direction. And I'm just like, those are just planes. Like,
Right. Yeah.
you've never seen a plane before. Like, yeah,
Apparently not. Yeah. Not from your car when you're driving down the highway. Yeah.
but,
People are.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. Worcester Airport's really just right over there. I don't know what to tell you. So
Well, we're spoiled because we're like we've been conditioned to be super skeptical of like it has to be a real UFO to get our attention. So it's like we're just like we immediately maybe the other people are like immediately like, holy shit, it's fucking one of the drones and shit. And for us, it's like, all right, let's go through the list of things this could be before it's even remotely interesting. Yeah. It's like, could it be a plane? Yes, it's a plane. It's like, okay, that's done. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, is that the helicopter near the hospital? Yeah, that's the helicopter near the hospital. That's not anything too particularly crazy.
Right. Yeah. Let me know when it's a flying saucer. That's when I'm interested. The flying saucer is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. When it flies down to you, then get in touch. Like, so we can, if I hear stories like people who are like, yeah, then the drone flew down and landed in front of my car. Fuck yeah, I want to hear that. Like, but that you saw one out your window, like, all right, who cares?
Show us the fucking aliens, man.
Show us the fucking aliens, yeah. Show us the fucking drones. Like, tired of the videos.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, we're I think we're at about an hour now. We have had a good crazy conversation here. What do you got coming up in the future on BOA? You're on the revival now. You've had like a pretty wonderful revival on the show.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying a lot of the recent guests. For people that haven't been tuning in to the Tim show, check out the one about the owl murder.
Yes,
Titty Smith.
Titty Smith.
Yeah, that like you've covered some weird true crime on there recently, like I said before, with some DB Cooper and other stuff. But I don't. You probably don't want to give too much away, but do you have any kind of big plans? Are you going to keep the revival going on the schedule that you're at now? Because I know you've been prone to breaks in the past. But
yeah, I know. Before the revival, there was that sort of wandering in the desert period there after the season. I wrapped up the seasonal format, but I think I'm in it now for the foreseeable future. I may take like a month off to sort of recharge my batteries. Like I did back in August, but I intend to keep doing like a weekly show for as long as I enjoy doing it. And I don't see that stopping anytime soon. I'm kind of like oddly, in a weird way, I'd have to look at the number and shit, but I'd like to almost catch up to where I left off at the end of season 10 as far as like episode numbers. I'd like to see if I can go all the way and like double up what I did. So with that in mind, like I'm probably like 200 shows away, like 4 years away from ever accomplishing that. Cause that show was like 33 episodes, then anywhere between 4 and 6 months off, and then the next season. So, if I just do it in one long run, it'll be interesting to see. So that's like the latest sort of idea of what the future is. I'm generally content to just kind of like do what I'm doing, but because I'm already super busy with Coast to Coast, and now then bringing in Binnall of America back. But I can't say really anything about either of these things. But for the first time, probably like maybe even ever, like I have a couple of like projects kind of like percolating, sort of like new side ideas and concepts that are taking shape that I'm like, okay, this is more than, over the years, it's always been like, well, maybe I'll do something like, or I sort of came up with a lot of ideas, but I never sort of pursued any of them. But there's a couple of ideas. There's a couple of ideas now that I've been really fallen in love with and have just sort of like turning into project form, which is unlike anything I've done before. So that'll be good. That'll be fun. It'll be an interesting change of pace. But I can't say anything about that. But I assume in 2025, I guess if I was a hopeful person, if I was Hopewell, there you go, right?
Yeah.
I would, if I was super hopeful, I would say like maybe something beyond Binnall of America, the revival, and my work with Coast to Coast will be coming in 2025. Some kind of new thing. So that's my hope.
Oh, that sounds mysterious and awesome, and I look forward to finding out what it is. So,
There you go.
yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much, Tim. Thanks for chatting with me and bullshitting about weird crimes and UFOs and Elvis impersonators and all that stuff.
Mystery houses.
Mystery houses. We've really been all over the map tonight. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on, man. It's always a blast talking to you.
Oh, it was my pleasure, man. Thank you for having me on anytime. I'm always happy to chat with you. You know that.
Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you soon.